Nothing is more important in life to me than sleep. If sleep is right, life is right. It is abnormal how good my sleep is. In the past 7 days, I've had 7 perfect nights of sleep performance, 100%. People are curious what I'm doing for sleep, and the night routine is really about prep for sleep. It happens at the same time every night, no matter what.
Now, if you didn't know Bryan Johnson, he's essentially an entrepreneur and he's also the founder most recently of Blueprint, and I quote from his website, is an algorithm that takes better care of me than I can myself. So in other words, Bryan's goal with Blueprint is to use data, AI, and algorithms to make decisions for him every day about his health, because as humans we're like too intelligent for our own good. You know, we can't trust ourselves to make good decisions every single day for our health right now and in the future, which is ultimately the goal on this channel. If you didn't know me, I am Holly. Welcome to this channel if you are new, and as a little disclaimer, I am a biology geek, science graduate. I am simply trying to relay accurate, up-to-date science that we can all like incorporate some of into our day-to-day lives. And as you've probably gathered by now, this video is all about sleep. I want to dive into a bit more detail about sleep. What I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about some of the key elements within Bryan Johnson's sleep routine. I'm then going to explain why he does those things, and then thirdly I'm going to share with you guys some like easy ways in which you can adapt his routine or start to incorporate some of these things into your own life to like improve your sleep ultimately. So definitely like this video if you enjoy it and you find it useful. If you're new, as I said, welcome. You can subscribe, and we have a lot to talk about, so we're gonna dive straight into the video. So I watched Bryan Johnson's full sleep routine. It's a 30-minute video. It's pretty long, and I also got these elements from his website, so on Blueprint, because for Bryan, like, sleep is a top priority. It's a non-negotiable. And the first thing I'm going to talk about is his wind down routine. Every day Bryan basically wakes up at the same time, and he also goes to bed at the same time, so that is around 8:45 and 9:30. He has a 1 to 2 hour wind down window where he doesn't like use screens, he interacts with his family, and he also apparently does a 5 to 10 minute meditation before he goes to bed. So the first thing to say about this is, you know, Bryan has this very strict routine every single day, every weekday, every day on the weekend. By doing that, by getting your body into a routine, it helps to reinforce your body's internal body clock, which is called your circadian rhythm. And so I think that's the first big takeaway. It's something very simple, but it's so easily forgotten about. Like, waking up at the same time and going to bed at the same time, having this routine is the first thing that I think we all need to establish, including on the weekends, which is when we often think about lying in. And then his other activities like his meditation or like no screens and talking to his family, that is all to kind of like reduce his stress levels and to help him prepare for going to sleep. And this is where I think it's important to talk about heart rate variability, or HRV. There is a decline in HRV with age, but one of the really cool things about HRV is that you can quite easily control it using external lifestyle factors like your diet, your sleep, your stress levels, your exercise. It's very easily controlled. So Bryan has invested a lot into improving his HRV. He even does like HRV therapy as well within his night routine. So he uses like electrical stimulation of his vagus nerve to try and like reduces stress levels and increases HRV. And HRV, if you didn't know, it's essentially a measure of the variation in time intervals between consecutive heartbeats. Your heart isn't like a precise metronome. That's not healthy. There is a healthy level of variability, hence HRV. So an optimal HRV basically reflects better overall health, improved cognitive performance, and this variability reflects a level of like adaptability. You know, your body can better adapt to changes. So it's good to have like a higher or an optimal HRV for you. HRV also reflects the activity of your autonomic nervous system, so everything that goes on in your nervous system unconsciously basically, and it reflects the balance and activities between your parasympathetic nervous system and your sympathetic nervous system. So the parasympathetic nervous system is basically what we say rest and digest, you know, when you're relaxed and not as stressed, whereas your sympathetic nervous system is all about, you know, high stress levels, your body's in fight or flight mode. And again, a higher HRV reflects like a dominance of the parasympathetic nervous system, so you're more relaxed and not as stressed. So going full circle, obviously Bryan does things before he goes to sleep to feel less stressed, and that is indicated by a higher overall HRV. And there are honestly loads of ways that you can de-stress in the evening. I would definitely advise avoiding screens for not only this reason but others I will talk about, but like you could do yoga or like stretching, you could read a book, do some breathing exercises, talk to your family or your friends, the people you live with. It's something that we very often omit from our nighttime routine, but this wind down period is ultimately very important. The second key aspect of Bryan's routine is quite a simple one, but he ultimately sleeps with blackout blinds, so the whole room is like pitch black. And there is again a very strong biological reason to do this. Sunlight as a stimulus, what it does is it promotes wakefulness and it makes you feel less tired because it inhibits the release of a hormone that we call melatonin. Now, melatonin is released from a gland in your brain, and it's also called the sleep hormone or the hormone of darkness because it's released in response to darkness, and it helps to promote sleep by impacting your circadian rhythm. So ultimately, if you have a blackout room with no light, you're not going to be inhibiting melatonin. So melatonin can be released when you know it's the nighttime, and it can help to promote sleep. Like if you don't have blackout blinds or curtains, I would strongly advise like trying to sleep in a pitch black room. Like if I have lights on anywhere, even if there's like a tiny glowing light from a charging wire, I'm so annoyed, I have to cover it up. And leading on from that, the next thing to say is that Bryan actually takes exogenous melatonin as a supplement. And I mean, Bryan takes like over 100 supplements a day. I know that sounds very crazy, but one of these, yes, is melatonin. As I said, melatonin is this hormone. It's released from the brain. There is again this kind of age-related decline in melatonin, and that might be the reason why people, as they get older, they don't sleep for as long, or they have more sleep disturbances during the night. And it's also prescribed for like sleep disorders like insomnia, also to combat jet lag. Now with this one, I am not suggesting you should start taking melatonin as a supplement. I mean, in the UK, which is where I am, not the US, where you can get it as a supplement, you can only get melatonin prescribed. I also feel like more research needs to be done in this area regarding like the optimal dose of melatonin, the timing of its use, whether it has any long-term health effects. Like it doesn't seem to have any adverse side effects, but I think the long-term side effects still need to kind of be like confirmed if you take melatonin say every day like Bryan. I think one of the better things that you can do very easily at this point is to, as I said before, like limit light exposure in the lead up to you going to bed. I mean, one of the worst things that you can do, I've been there, I'm sure we've all been there, you might be there right now as you're watching this video, but like you're in a pitch black room and you're on your phone, which is a tiny bright screen. You know, that's one of the worst things you can do because that light is very clearly going to be inhibiting melatonin, which is what we don't want. And that also leads me on to my next point, which is Bryan uses blue light filter blocking glasses. Blue light blocking glasses. Right, yeah. Now I read that he like uses these after 7 p.m. and you know, the first thing I need to say is that we live in a very illuminated world. Like way back when there weren't street lights, we didn't have electronic devices that are like emitting a lot of blue light. We also have this shift towards more energy efficient light bulbs and LEDs, which I'm all for environmentally, but they emit more blue light or blue light wavelengths. We shouldn't ignore the fact that blue light is beneficial. You know, it can improve reaction times, promote alertness, improve cognition during the day, but at nighttime we know that it can disturb your sleep and hinder your sleep quality, and that's because blue light inhibits melatonin more than other wavelengths of light. Now in terms of a solution to this, as I said before, like one of the easiest things you can do is avoid being on a screen. And if you do need to be on a screen like close to your bedtime, I would turn down the brightness, and you can also get applications like Flux, for example, that automatically adjust your screen brightness. Like your screen goes really red, it looks like your computer or something is really hot, but it adjusts the brightness for you. And in terms of blue light blocking glasses, which is obviously what Bryan talks about, I have used them. I used to have prescription blue light blocking glasses. This was all yes before laser eye surgery, which I made a whole video about if you are interested, and I can link that down below. But even if it was psychological, I feel like they did help me. but having like read some of the literature in this space, I don't think the results are very conclusive right now. A lot of the most recent studies actually don't show that there is any benefit in using blue light blocking glasses. Like, there's no improvement in sleep. Another thing to say is that like on the market with the commercially available glasses, a lot of them vary in their quality. Like, you don't actually know which specific wavelengths are being specifically blocked. So with this one, I would take it with a pinch of salt. You know, if you want to try these glasses for yourself, and I might try them again at some point, and it works for you, then great. But like, I'm not saying to go and buy them because I can't guarantee that it's going to have any effect on your sleep. So the next thing I wanted to talk about within Bryan's sleep routine that I thought was quite important was temperature regulation. He essentially has a mattress, which I believe is from A-Sleep, that automatically adjusts his temperature throughout the night. I mean, I wish I had this mattress. We don't all have the luxury of investing in mattresses like these ones. They are very expensive, but I thought it was worth talking as well, as I've been doing, about why he does this. I'm sure a lot of you guys know our core body temperature is 37 degrees Celsius. I'm talking in Celsius because I cannot do Fahrenheit. I'm so sorry if you work in Fahrenheit, but 37 degrees C. And during the day, your temperature basically rises and then it falls during the night. So your lowest body temperature is recorded normally between like 2 to 4 a.m. and then it will start to rise again. On top of that, you also have temperature fluctuations as you go through different sleep stages. So we have what's called REM sleep, rapid eye movement sleep, and then you have 3 stages within non-rapid eye movement sleep. And we tend to warm during REM sleep, which is when you're dreaming, and we get a bit cooler when we're in non-rapid eye movement sleep. This video I'm not going to dedicate to sleep entirely, the biology of sleep. Like, if you want to hear more about it, then let me know and I can talk about it. And if you are also enjoying this video, you may as well like it. But as I said, our temperature basically fluctuates throughout the night, and so by Bryan having this mattress, you know, it just supports those temperature changes and it ensures he's in this optimal environment for perfect sleep. There are some things we can do to like regulate our temperature leading up to us going to bed and hopefully promote better all-round sleep. And the first thing that makes sense, you know, is that you don't want to be really hot before you go to bed. If our temperature is trying to drop as we enter sleep, having a really hot core body temperature is not going to help you. It actually leads to like less REM sleep and less deep sleep, so lower quality sleep. We know that. The optimal temperature then for your environment to promote great sleep is actually 18.3 degrees Celsius, but you want to be like warmer under the covers, so you create this like temperature gradient so you can lose heat to the cooler environment around you. The other really cool thing that is actually well studied in science is what we call the warm bath effect. And this doesn't actually have to be a bath, you know, you can have a warm shower or you could just put your feet in some warm water for literally like 10 minutes and like 1 to 2 hours before you sleep. And what this does is it like warms up your body, so it starts to promote heat loss. And the way in which we lose heat, especially from our skin, is through vasodilation. So our blood vessels allow more blood to flow to the skin surface and we lose more heat by radiation, especially through like your hands and your feet, which are your body's extremities. And by promoting this vasodilation and this heat loss, like within those 1 to 2 hours before you go to bed, it will help speed up the process of heat loss and help your body cool down as you enter sleep. It's a great thing you can do. Obviously the mattress would be great, but we can't all have access to that, and I would say like try some of these other solutions instead. You know, if A-Sleep, if you're watching this video, like I would love a mattress. The final aspect of Bryan's routine that I thought was like worthy of talking about, this isn't like comprehensive, he does some other small things, but I deemed these things most like important. But the last one is essentially Bryan fasts for about like 8 to 9 hours before he goes to sleep. That is to say that he finishes eating for the whole day at like 12 noon. So that's no food, no liquids, and he avoids caffeine completely and also doesn't drink alcohol. Now, caffeine and alcohol are kind of self-explanatory. Like, alcohol really disrupts your sleep at any point in the day, and also caffeine, we know it's a psychoactive drug, it's a stimulant, promotes wakefulness, and the thing to remember about caffeine is that it has a half-life of 5 hours on average. That's a half-life. So on average, after 5 hours of drinking that cup of coffee, you'll have metabolized half of it. not the entirety, only half. Some of us probably have genes that allow us to metabolize caffeine faster, but as a general rule, I would create a cutoff for yourself. Like either don't drink caffeine beyond 12 noon, or like don't drink it at all, drink a coffee alternative. And with alcohol, like, you know, it's up to you ultimately, but it does disturb sleep quality. Now with the liquids, I understand this, like, and I'm actually really jealous because every single day, at least at the moment, I wake up in the middle of the night at like 4 a.m. needing the toilet, and that's because your bladder can't hold an infinite volume of liquid. When it reaches a certain volume, it's going to signal to your brain to go to the toilet, and that will wake you up in the middle of the night. So drinking makes sense. With the eating, like meal timings, this literature and the research in this space is very, very mixed. Bryan says he does this because he wants to ensure that all of his food has been properly digested before he goes to sleep. So that helps to reduce his resting heart rate and also reduce his HRV, his stress levels. Science does show that yes, people can be woken up in the night with like digestive issues or like heartburn. So yes, there is evidence to favor eating way before you go to sleep. There has also been this idea in this space that like eating right before bed promotes like weight gain and obesity. And there are like plausible explanations for this. You know, like eating really late might disrupt your circadian rhythm again, which controls like metabolic processes. So you might digest and metabolize food differently later on in the day. Studies also show that your satiety signals are also different when you eat like the same meal throughout the day. So, you know, you might end up overeating late at night because you're not feeling as full and satisfied. But as I said, I would be very cautious in this research area. Like, don't believe everything that you are fed straight away, no pun intended. But, you know, like a lot of this original data comes from studies looking at food intake and meals before bed that are like big energy dense meals, whereas there are more recent studies that look at, you know, like small meals with, you know, a lower energy composition but are like really nutrient dense. They can have beneficial effects both in young and older populations, because that consumption of food before bed helps to promote protein synthesis and like muscle growth throughout the night and throughout your sleep, which is a restorative process. And overall, what I'm basically trying to say is that I think we definitely need a lot more research in this space to look specifically at like the type of meal before you go to bed, like the precise meal timing, the combination of like eating before bed and exercising before bed. Just because I don't think right now we can say that eating late at night specifically and directly causes bad sleep. Poor dietary habits and poor sleep and other factors are all kind of intertwined. So it might not be the meal timing itself that impacts sleep, it could be something else. So I definitely think that there isn't this cause and effect relationship established, you know, completely right now in its entirety. Take everything with a grain of salt and maybe just experiment for yourself. And that's where I'm going to finish this video. I think that, you know, brings me to a nice conclusion. As I said, this isn't like a comprehensive list of everything Bryan does, but it's a lot of what he does, and I hope that it's made it easier to kind of like incorporate some of these habits and changes and routines into your own daily life. So I really hope you've learned something from it and you've been able to take something away. I definitely like it if you did. And the final thing I would encourage you guys to do, in line with, you know, personalizing this and listening to your own body and experimenting, would be to like invest in a device that can track your sleep, because, you know, without knowing what your sleep looks like right now before you implement changes, how will you know whether it's improved it or not? So that is where I will leave it for today. I mean, if you would like to see me actually try every single thing in Bryan's sleep routine to try and get this perfect sleep score, let me know. Like this video or leave something in the comments, because I'm willing to try it. If you are new around here, you can subscribe, hit the bell so you know when I upload. I will leave down below, as I said, my latest eye surgery video, and I recently made one all about, you know, the reasons why you're tired all the time. I mentioned a few things about sleep, so I can link that down below as well, because if you like this one, I also think you'll like that one. But I feel like I'm waffling right now, so I will leave you guys as always with the bloopers and speak to you very soon in another video. Bye guys! We are in a jumper which hasn't featured so much this winter season yet. No, this is not the final one. Variation in time intervals between consecutive heartbeats is such a mouthful. Wow. That, you know, you don't want to. Hello, Alexa? Whoa, we look like Hagrid. I was windswept this morning.